Hey, thanks for coming. The lesson we're going to be learning today is about using this one word, Patang. Now, Patang is just a regular word. It's a noun. It's just a noun that means foundation or basis, or like the background or the ground for something, right? Just something's foundation, what it's founded on. That sort of vague meaning. So this is an abstract noun that has all of these meanings. And the way that this form works is we're going to be taking this word to say something's based on something. So let me show you how it works. You take a noun, whatever something is based on, and you attach the object marker to it. So if it's based on a book, well, book is 책. So 책을 바탕, and then you attach 으로. 책을 바탕으로. Now, there's a little more to it. This will always end with an action verb. So the sentence will always do something based on a noun. Like it might be a movie that was created based on a noun. So you'll always have some sort of action following it. Now, technically, this is actually hiding inside of the form 하다, conjugated into 해, or 하여, which is the same thing. This is just more of a formal written version of 해. So 하여 is actually hiding after 바탕으로. This is actually in there. It's just not said or written. You can just keep that in mind. But like I said, don't worry about it because you won't see it there 99% of the time. There's another thing you should know about this. The noun that you use before here can also be a verb. You could use like an action verb. For example, I wrote an article based on what I heard. So in this case, based on what I heard will have to come from an action verb. 들은 것, literally 듣다, to listen, to hear. 들은 것, literally the things that I heard. So you can say 들은 걸 or 들은 것을 바탕으로, based on what I heard, literally based on the thing that I heard. So you might see this form come after either 것을 or 걸, same thing, and then 바탕으로, and that means based on some sort of action that comes before it. So it's common to use this with verbs as well, but remember you still have to change it into a noun by getting the noun form of that verb with 것. This form, meaning based on, is really only used in more of like fancy speech. So it can be used in formal speaking, and it can be used in informal speech, but it's most commonly used in a little bit more fancy, a little bit more formal speech, because it has a little bit of a fancy feeling. If you want more of an everyday feeling in Korean, you can simply use the grammar form 으로. 으로 just means using, because this form actually does kind of just mean using. You can do the same thing without adding 바탕. You can just use the particle 으로, meaning using or with. I studied, instead of based on past exam questions, you can just say I studied using past exam questions. Instead of saying, please write a business plan based on the contents of last week's meeting, you could just say, please write a business plan using the contents of last week's meeting. Alternatively, you can also use the particle 가지고. This is not the same as the grammar form 가지고. This is a different form that uses the object marker after a noun, and it also can have the meaning of using something. But you can use either of these instead of 바탕으로. You just lose that nuance of it being like the background or the basis of something. So let's do some sentences. 지난주, last week. 회의, meeting, like a business meeting. 내용 is the contents, what was discussed at the business meeting last week. 내용을 바탕으로, so based on the contents of last week's meeting. 사업 is business, 계획, business plan. 써주세요. So please write, 쓰다, 써주세요. Please write the business plan based on the contents of last week's meeting. 지난주 회의 내용을 바탕으로 사업 계획을 써주세요. So please write a business plan based on the contents of last week's meeting. 지난주 회의 내용을 바탕으로 사업 계획을 써주세요. 저는 I 기출 문제. So this would be previous questions for a test. So using 바탕으로, the previous year's questions, based on those questions, 공부했어요. I studied. So I studied based on past exam questions. 저는 기출문제를 바탕으로 공부했어요. 저는 기출문제를 바탕으로 공부했어요. Remember how I said that default, there's actually a verb 하다 that's hiding in there? Well, you can see that verb come out when it's being used to describe something as an adjective. In this case, we're describing the noun 영화, a movie. So it's a movie that is based on, in this case, 실화. 실화 is a true story. So 이것은, this is 영화예요. This is a movie that is 한, which is from the verb 하다. So something that is based on a true story. So 하다 is actually hiding in here, but if you have a different action verb, you'll never see it. 이건 실화를 바탕으로 한 영화예요. So this is a movie that is based on a true story. 목격자들, so witnesses, 에게서, from the witnesses, 듣다, to hear, 들은 것, the thing that I heard from the witnesses. So 것을, which in this case becomes 걸, shortened, 바탕으로, so based on the things I heard from the witnesses. 기사, a news article, 기사를 썼어요. So I wrote an article based on what I heard from the witnesses. 목격자들에게서 들은 걸 바탕으로 기사를 썼어요. So I wrote an article based on what I heard from the witnesses. 친구들에게 받은. So 받다, to receive, to get. So 받은 feedback. So feedback that I received, past tense, 받은. 에게, from, in this case, 친구들에게 받은. So feedback I got from my friends, 을 바탕으로. So using that as the foundation for what I'm going to do, what did I do? 고치다, to fix. 고쳐보다, to try fixing. 고쳐봤어요. So I tried fixing it based on the feedback I got from my friends. 친구들에게 받은 피드백을 바탕으로 고쳐봤어요. So I fixed it based on the feedback that I got, received from my friends. So that's all you need to know about 바탕으로, but there are several synonyms of 바탕 that can also be used in this exact same way. Now, 바탕, as I mentioned, is an abstract word that can mean like the foundation or the basis, but it can also mean like the background for something or like the ground of something. These words are less abstract, so their nuance will be slightly different. They're used in the same way by adding 로 or 으로. So you have 토대로, 기초로, and 기반으로. The nuance difference, though, is that 토대, this means like the structure or the base of something. That's a building. Like an actual building structure or the building's base. So it just gives that nuance of something having the structure of something. 기초 is a regular word you're going to use commonly that means the basics. And the nuance of this word is the starting point. So if you were to say, I made a movie based on a book, but now the nuance of this sentence is that was the starting point. Like, I'm still doing lots of other work, but I started out with using this book as a base. And finally, 기반으로. 기반 means an actual, like a base, like maybe like a military base of something, like a ground. But you can use any of these in the exact same situation. So let me give you a couple sentences. 설문조사, that's a survey. Like if you ask people a survey. 설문조사 결과, the results of a survey. So the survey results, 기초로. Again, just think of it like 바탕으로. So based on the results of the survey, 시장 means literally a market. Like if you go to the 시장, you go to the market. But it also means like a market, like a business market, like market research. 시장을 분석하다. 분석하다 is to analyze. So I analyzed, 분석했어요, the market based on the results of the survey. So it still means like based on, but it has the nuance now of like, that was the first thing that I did. So I analyzed the market based on the results of the survey. 설문조사 결과를 기초로 시장을 분석했어요. 이 보고서 is a report. So this report, 의 숫자. So the numbers of this report. So let's talk about the numbers of this report for a second, okay? What? 무엇을 토대로 했어요? So what did you base them on? What did you base the numbers of this report on? 토대, again, is not as abstract. It means the structure, like the base of a building, that sort of meaning. So what are they actually based on? 이 보고서의 숫자는 무엇을 토대로 했어요? What did you base the numbers of this report on? And that is the lesson. Thank you everyone for coming, and I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. I actually have to turn off the camera.